So Jason here again today with you. I wanted to do a video talking about backpacks for backpacking and the different ones that I have, what I've figured out to be some of my favorites that I like a lot. I've learned a lot of things about me. Backpacks for backpacking, it ends up being a very personal, very subjective topic. Everybody's going to have their own opinions on it, and not everybody's going to like the same thing. That's why there's so many backpacks out there. A lot of people like the external frames, where you have the big, bulky frame, which has its positives and negatives, and then some people like the internal frame backpacks, which is what I prefer and what I have grown to like so much, which also has its own positives and negatives. Personally, I feel they have more positives and fewer negatives than do the full-blown external frame backpacks. But again, that's my personal preference, my personal opinion. So, first of all, not everybody can afford the most expensive backpack for backpacking. There's lots of different brands, lots of different sizes, and lots of different prices for these backpacks. So, with that said, if you're first getting into backpacking, not so sure that you're going to like it, or you're going to be able to go out very much, or for very long, so your trips are going to be relatively short and far and few between throughout the next handful of years, and again, you're not sure whether or not you're going to like it, love it, or hate it, I would go with something that's not going to break the bank, something that's going to be relatively inexpensive. And also, then when you get into the question of, well, what size backpack should I get? That mainly depends on two things. One, what kind of gear you have. Whether you have big, bulky, typically ends up being the less expensive gear, or if you have small, compact, lightweight to leaning towards the ultralight type gear that's super small and really compact, and so therefore you can go smaller in size in your backpack. The other factor on size of your backpack is the length of your trips. Even with ultralight gear, sometimes it's very difficult, especially during the winter time and on your longer trips, your longer treks. It's difficult to try to fit 2 weeks worth, for doing like a through hike where you're gonna hit somewhere around 100 miles or more all at once. It's gonna be hard to squeeze all of your stuff, including 4 to 6 days worth of food, in a 40-liter backpack. So it's, even with ultralight gear, that's really hard to do. Some people are able to do it. Awesome. Most of us can't for that kind of length of a trip and carrying that much stuff. So we need something larger, leaning towards more 60 liters and all the way up to some people like to have or need an 85-liter backpack. To me, that's huge. But some people, that's what it takes for them. So I recommend, for those just getting into it, a inexpensive pack, one of those off-brands or maybe not so popular brands, that's still going to be pretty comfortable, that are under $100. Under $100 is great. So this backpack I bought off of Amazon. It's the Teton Sports Explorer 4000. It's a 65-liter backpack that is around $50 to $60. So for a beginner or someone new to it, this is a great backpack. It's going to cover 65 liters. It's going to cover pretty much anything and everything that you need for whatever trip you're going to probably be doing at that level of experience. So then you get into brands like Osprey. Osprey is one of the popular ones. It's one of the slightly more expensive ones, and it ended up being one of my favorites. And so the rest of my backpacks that I use on a regular basis now are Osprey backpacks. Again, all internal frames because I like the internal frames. That's what works best for me. And This is their Osprey Volt 60. Again, getting back into backpacking and having a younger son who's 8 years old right now, who I am working on getting into backpacking. The idea of him having his backpack and only being able to carry so much gear leads to me having to carry some of his gear plus my gear. And then if I wanted to do some longer trips every once in a while, some week-long trips, I needed something that was going to hold, all of my gear plus 5 to 6 days worth of food. So therefore, felt like I needed a large backpack. Well, I started off and ordered the Volt 70, the 70-liter backpack, and even with a 3-day, 2-night trip with my son and carrying most of his gear, plus all of mine, plus all of our food, I didn't even come close to filling up that 70-liter backpack. Didn't even come close. So I returned it and got the 60-liter, and am glad that I did, because I didn't need that extra, that large of a backpack. Just empty space and more fabric of the backpack equals more weight, so that was not necessary. Okay, so I ended up going with the Volt 60, and I'm confident that I could do a through hike with that, no problem. I could go months with that backpack, filling it with all of my gear that I need, even through winter time, winter gear, clothes and stuff, plus 6 to anywhere from 4 to 7 days worth of food, 7-8 days worth of food at any point in time during my trip. Okay, so that was great, and I've used it quite a few times on my winter trips and my longer trips. Then I realized that I can afford it. I would really love to get a summer, spring, summer, early fall type backpack where I'm not carrying as much gear, or for my very, very short 1-2-nighter trips, that I could get a backpack that was almost half the weight and a lot smaller for those types of trips. So I went with the newer 2016's version of the Osprey Talon 44, which this is the small medium size, which actually ends up being only 42 liters, not the full 44. That's the size for the medium large backpack. My torso is only 18.5 inches, so I got the size backpacks according to that, so that they would fit me properly. The newer 2016 version has the airspace design on the backrest of the backpack, which allows more breathability for your back. And what I also love about this backpack, and I think that all backpacks need to go in this direction of having the outside of the bag itself between the straps and pad, your backrest, and the backpack itself is where your water reservoir slips into, rather than going inside of your backpack. It's more reassuring, if anything, but it's easier access to for refilling and putting it in there and taking it out for your water reservoir with tube to go on the outside of the pack, right there between the two areas, rather than inside the backpack, and never really having to worry about it possibly leaking, or maybe you didn't screw the lid on tight enough, or the hose disconnected down at the bottom of it. You don't have to worry about any of that because it's outside of the backpack. So all your stuff for sure is going to stay dry, as far as the fact that it's not going to be exposed to the possibility of getting wet from your water reservoir that you use. So that's that bag. And then this is my son's backpack that I got him. It's the Osprey Ace 50. Excellent backpack. I did tons and tons and tons of research. I did tons of research on all my backpacks, because that's how I am. If I'm going to spend this kind of money, well over $100 on backpacks, I'm going to make sure that I'm going to be totally happy with what I got. So with kid backpacks and all the research that I did, the Ace models from Osprey, they've got two or three other sizes. But the Ace backpacks, as far as torso adjustment, right here with the shoulder straps and the waist straps, Osprey Ace backpack is the most versatile as far as adjustment goes. It has the largest adjustments, from the smallest to the largest adjustability in your straps system is the biggest. It has the widest range of adjustability, more than anybody else so far out there. And believe me, I did lots and lots of research on that to find that out, to figure that out. So that's why I went with that backpack. I went with the Ace 50. Yeah, it's kind of big on him. You know, he's a scrawny little 8-year-old. So he definitely looks huge on him. But again, I only fill it with about 15 to 20% of his body weight is what goes in here. So that's not much. It's his sleeping bag and maybe a couple other items. And I let it just fill up the bag. But it will grow with him. He will be able to use this backpack well into his teens. So it's going to last, and because it's Osprey and their fantastic warranty and customer service, this bag, he can use this bag for at least 6-7 years, at least. So it's money well spent in getting that bag for him. A couple reasons why I went with the Osprey Volt 60 and the Talon 44 over the very, very popular and highly respected Osprey Exos, E-X-O-S, that's how you spell it, is because I'm going to have to get my little cheat sheet out here, so can't rally off this all off the top of my head. But the Exos, they have the 48 liter and the 58 liter. Okay, so I went with the Volt 60 rather than the Exos 58 liter, mainly because of the fact that the padding in it, the shoulder straps as well as the waist, the Volt 60 just felt more durable. It was more stout in the thickness of the padding and everything. So I felt like it was going to be able to handle, 35 to 40 pounds worth of gear and food and stuff and water and everything in it. That it would be more, it would feel more comfortable and sit on me more comfortable than the Exos 58. So that was one reason. Another reason was the price. I mean, there was like a $40 price difference in it. The Volt 60 was like right about $180, whereas the Exos 58 was $220. So that's a $40 difference in price. So I figured that's $40 that I could spend more on, a sleeping bag or the tent or another piece of gear. Understanding that the Exos are a much lighter backpack, this is just the Volt 60 is just under 4 pounds, where the Exos 58 is just a little bit less than 2.5 pounds, 2 pounds 6.5 ounces. So yeah, the Exos is lighter, but I felt like the Volt was going to handle heavier loads a little more comfortably, and I liked all the little pockets and stuff that it had. I liked the setup of that. The other main thing as far as pockets go is both the Volt and the Talon 44 have the lower opening for the sleeping bag, the lower part of the backpack. You have access down to just the bottom. So if you need something that's down at the bottom, or you're packing something down at the bottom, at the last minute or whatever, you don't have to open up the top and empty everything else out to get to what's on the bottom of your pack. If you need something that's right there at the bottom of the pack, you have this other zippered area that separates that and gives you access to that. Both of these backpacks have that, where the Exos model does not. It does not have that zippered compartment down at the bottom. So you have to open up the top and kind of dig a little bit. which I guess for in respect to the Talon 44 versus the Ixos 48, when you have that small of a backpack, you're really not reaching that far down. But still, I like the fact that I liked that feature of it a lot. I liked having that a lot. So that's why I lean towards both of those backpacks rather than getting the Ixos. One of the other reasons why I went with the Talon 44 versus the Ixos 48 is the fact that actually the Talon 44 is just a tad bit lighter. I mean, just a tad bit lighter. We're talking about the Ixos 48 being 2 pounds 8 ounces, whereas the Talon 44 is 2 pounds 4 ounces. So like a 3.5 to 4 ounce difference, roughly. But yeah, just overall, I preferred the way the Talon and the Volt felt on my back with a good load in it, and the way it handled on the trails out there in the woods and the wilderness. I really liked these two backpacks more so than I liked the Ixos. So again, that was a personal preference, my choice. Not saying that the Ixos isn't a great pack. It's actually one of the top choices for those doing the big through hike trails like the Appalachian Trail and the PCT and all those. So the Ixos is definitely by far a very, very popular backpack. But I had a few features that I like better about these other two backpacks, so that's why I went with them. So again, these are somewhere around the $140 to $220 range backpacks for the Osprey backpacks, and I kind of, the main reason I think I leaned towards the Osprey backpacks versus like the Gregory or the REIs, which I've had an REI backpack before, was because of the weight. Because they're a little more compact. They still have the same great pocket features and all that stuff, but they weighed a little bit less than a lot of their competitor, top brand competitors. I still cannot and will not go into the ultralight backpacks, the real ultralight backpacks, some of the ones that are entirely frameless, or ones that use kind of like a foam for keeping some kind of a frame rigidness. I cannot and will not go to those, mainly strictly for the sake of my lower back injury that I have. I have a lower back injury that I have to keep in mind when I'm doing any of my outdoor activities, and especially backpacking, for the sake of the way these backpacks are made and how they fit me, and how much I can do for the sake of my lower back, and being cautious with that and taking care of myself, because safety's number one, always is and always will be. So that's my take on backpacks. Again, it's definitely a very, very highly personal preference when it comes to these. These are the ones that I use because these are the ones I like, and I've had great experience with them. Everybody talks huge about Osprey's customer service and warranties being fantastic, and if you buy them through REI does great with their customer. For the most part, they do great with their customer service and helping you out with any of their stuff as well. I did look at their REI's backpacks, their brand backpacks. Like I said, I've had one of theirs before, years and years ago. I actually used one of theirs when I did most of the Appalachian Trail one summer. Great backpacks as well, but they were a little bit more heavier, and I just like the Ospreys. So, not that I am an Osprey fan. I am a little biased towards them, but for good reason, and a lot of people would agree with me on that. So, I mean, I did buy this backpack first. Spent about $55 on it, almost $60 on it, and tried out backpacking again because I wasn't sure whether or not I was really going to be able to do it, or how much I was going to be able to do with having had my lower back injury. So, an air of caution and trying to save my money, I went with this kind of a backpack first, and and then grew from there, um, based off of what I felt comfortable doing. So that's my take on backpacks. I did when I was a kid. Actually, the first time I ever went backpacking, I did have and use an external frame backpack. Again, they have their own positives and negatives to them. Not dismissing them. A lot of people still love and use and even recommend external frames. They've definitely come a good ways in how they are made as well from 15, 20 years ago, plus years ago when I was using one. So just take this with a grain of salt, and definitely highly recommend that you go to your stores, wherever is closest to you when you can, and try them on and put some stuff into it. If you're really wanting to know whether or not your gear will fit in that particular size backpack, bring all your gear to that store. Let them know what you're doing when you walk in the store with all of your stuff in tow, and tell them what you're doing, and see if somebody will help you out with it. Most stores will gladly do that. So yeah, go that route. Just bring all your stuff that you would want to take on whatever trips you're going on, and figure out what backpack it'll all fit in, and then based off of that, which one's going to be most comfortable for you. It's all about trying to find the most comfortable backpack that holds all of your stuff that you want to take with you, so that your time out there on the trails and in the woods is most enjoyable for you. So hope this helps. Hope this gave you some insight, and just talking a little bit about what backpacks I have and use, and why I prefer them and use them. So till next time, I'm out.